Alright, let's try problem J3 secret instructions. Alright. Problem description. Professor Santos has decided to hide a secret formula for a new type of biofuel. She has, however, left a sequence of coded instructions for her assistants. Each instruction is a sequence of 5 digits which represent a direction to turn and the number of steps to take. So essentially, it's kind of like a maze. We have a coded message, and the our code is going to decode this message. Okay, cool. Each instruction is a sequence of 5 digits which represent a direction. Oh, sorry, I already read that. The first 2 digits represent the direction to turn. So the first 2 digits are representing of the direction, and since there's 5, there's 3 left, and that I assume are the number of steps that must be taken. Okay. If their sum is odd, then the direction to turn is left. If their sum is even and not 0, then the direction to turn is right. So we can use the modular approach to figure out if it's odd or even. The modulus, I believe, it's just like the percentage sign, will tell us the remainder of a given operation when you divide. So in the case of odd and even, it's going to be either 1 for if it's odd or 0 if it's even, right? So it can be representative of a true or false attribute. Now, if the sum is 0, then the direction is to turn. The direction to turn is the same as the previous instruction. So now we have to also assign a new variable. We're gonna call it prev, right? Just prev, and that's just gonna be either right or left, depending on the previous direction that was given. The remaining 3 digits represent the number of steps that will always be at least 100. So that makes our life easier, so we don't have to deal with if it wasn't 3 digits. If it was more or less, it'll stay 3 digits. Okay. So our job is to decode the instructions so the assistants can use this. Okay, perfect. There will be at least 2 lines of input. Each line, except the last, will contain exactly 5 digits representing an instruction. The first line will not begin with 0, 0. Thank God, because 0, 0 is refers to the previous direction. But when you begin with it, what would the previous instruction be? But it does not. We don't have to worry about that. The last line will contain 999, and no other line will contain 9999. What does it mean by this? So there will be at least 2 lines of input. Each line, except the last line, will contain. Is there like an amount? Hold on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. The last line will contain 99999, and no other line will contain 99. Let's see here. The last line here is left. 100. If we look here, 34 is that's even. Hold on. Yeah, that is strange. Why is this doing it the opposite? Because here it's saying that if this, oh, there's some. Sorry. Okay. That makes me a little stupid. I thought it was just this number itself, but the sum of these 2 numbers. So 3 plus 4, yeah, is indeed 7. So that is going to be left because 7 is an odd number. Yeah. Okay. So we just have to discard the last input, I guess. But my question is how are we gonna get these inputs? Are we gonna use like a for loop or what's up? I have no clue. There will be at least. It's not telling us how many inputs there are going to be. It just says there'll be at least. This is making it very confusing because I don't know how many inputs there's going to be, so I can't anticipate it. It's just saying that there will be at least 2 lines of input, and each line will contain exactly 5 digits. Okay, I'm just gonna presume it's 3, right? Because the last line is gonna be 99999. So I'm just gonna have it like this, right? And we're just gonna discard the 999999 because we know that's going to be the last line, and no other line will contain that. So we can just discard the logic that we'll make for that. Okay, so back here, I'm gonna rename this actually. This is J3. I think this is 2021. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm just using this for code editor purposes. So for underscore in range of, I'm gonna just say 4. We're gonna give it an input. So that input's gonna be like this. So we just say number, and that's going to be an integer with an input. The prompt is going to be nothing, and then we're going to make this into a list, right? Or sorry, it's not like that. Yes, like that. So now it's a list. Then what we will do is we should assign n to this. So now n is a list, right? Because we converted it. So now what we can do is we can take the first 2 indices, which are 0 and 1, right? And we can just add them up, right? Like so. And this is going to be the direction. I'll use D for that. Or, you know what, whatever. We'll use direction because we're like that. And then what we'll do is we'll say if direction, and then the modular 2, right? So this is if equals to 1. We will just give it, we'll just assign direction itself to the word left, right? Because in this case it is an odd number because it's producing a remainder, right? Even numbers, when divided by 2, they should not produce a remainder. So that's what this is going to be, right? Because remember, that's going to be right, like so. So now that we have the direction, we can just take the last of them, the last couple of them, the last 3, and then use that, right? And before we even do this, we're just going to say if n equals 1 2 3 4 5, right? It's the end of line, so we're just going to press return, or actually break. We're going to break out of the function. And then here we're going to do the print statement here, but before we do that, so direction is left, right, then so now we can just add the direction, which will either be left or right, and then the actual number, and the actual number of steps, I'll put it in steps, is going to be just I'm going to put it into a string actually of n 2, and I'm gonna continue this because I want to concat them. I don't want to actually add them like mathematically. 3, and then the final one's gonna be 4, because remember, indexes start at 0, and then I can just add the amount of steps like so, with just a bit of formatting of the space. And there you go. So let me save this. Let me try this out actually. Let's run this module. Oops, I forgot that it's just 2 equals. That's the JavaScript of me. Okay, don't mind these. This was from another program I was working on. And so let's add this. Int is not iterable. Okay, so this just means, okay, that's my bad. We're gonna keep this as a, just like this. And over here, we're gonna say that if it's like this, if it's we're just making it into a string so that we can convert it into a list. And here, we're just gonna make it into an integer value, so that it actually mathematically adds up, right? And it provides a number, so that we can actually use this operand on it, and then we don't need these strings actually. So the steps is just going to be n2 plus n3 plus n4, because again it's going to be strings, so it'll concat or connect instead of actually adding. There we go. 907 left 400. Now the thing is that I'm not too sure about this whole thing because it's kind of iffy on how many lines of input. Oh, I just realized. Oh my god. So we're just gonna keep this as while true. Oopsies. Okay, I'm gonna explain why I changed it to while true. I just realized that just came right into my mind. This is why I left this uncut, because I want to show you my problem solving approaches. But let me take this again actually. Let me run this again. Okay, there you go. So now you can have an unlimited amount of outputs, but the thing is that it's kind of, Waterloo's kind of sneaky with this. They basically said, you can see here with the output too, right? This 99999, it signals the end of the input, right? So basically all we did here was we kept a for loop going, so meaning it'll run an infinite amount of time, right? But as soon as you reach, as soon as you type in 9999999, right, you will break out of the function of this for loop, and therefore you'll just get the amount of the, what do you call it, the different print statements before this 9999 appeared, because the 99999 signals the end to the input. You can see here that it says that, right? The last line will contain 9999 and no other line will contain 99999, right? And it's being sneaky. It's not telling us, oh, this signifies the end of the input, but rather it's just saying that's the last line, and it will always remain the last line. And if you use some of your logic, you can see here that 99999 is not being calculated or decoded into a message. So that's why keeping a while true would be perfect. If I took this out now, you'll see that I'll actually run into a memory error. See, as you can see, we run into memory errors, and that's really simply because of the fact that, you know, we're running the program over and over again. So we need a means to stop it, and that means to stop it is the last thing. This little if statement here. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna just take off this shell. Let's go ahead and take this, and I'm gonna add this to my GitHub. But before I do that, okay, I'm just giving a little bit of lines here. Oh, one thing is that if this direction, if it equals 0, we actually need to keep a previous thing, right? So I'm just gonna keep it empty. The previous direction in case first two, in case we get 0 for the first two numbers sum. And then we're just gonna print, sorry, not print here, if it is equal to 0, we're gonna assign direction to previous. Otherwise, we're chilling, and instead over here we're gonna make previous the direction at the end, actually, like this, because it's applicable to both outcomes, so it doesn't make sense to write it 2 times, right? Assigning the new outcome for direction. Mathematically added up. Okay, so this is just me giving a little bit of documentation to my code, right? Making sure that if my teacher were to see this, right? Because again, I'm doing this for my class. I'm doing this as study for my class. But if my teacher were to see this, he would understand exactly what's going on, right? I'm just gonna change this over here to infinitely, like that, and there we go. So let me run this again, run the module again, and let me just add this here. Not all arguments converted during string formatting. Oh. What is this? So type error, not all, line 37 if direction. So it's from here. It's probably because of this. I'm just gonna say sum underscore first, or SF2. I'm just gonna say S for sum. And so if sum's this, then we're gonna say direction, which is gonna be initialized like this, right? So I'm just assigning two variables, like that. Okay, let's try this now. I just instead of having one variable, which would be the sum of the first two numbers and the direction, I just separated that logic. I think that makes more sense too, especially with code readability and whatnot. There you go. Everything works perfectly fine now. Cool. So if I actually run this again, and in this case, I put 0, 0 here, and then I'd run this now. You can see that we get all 3 as right, because this is actually taking on the right from the previous statement. So yeah, that's very cool. One thing that I'll actually do is I'll move this a bit down, actually, over here. We're gonna run this before we run this. So if direction. Then we're gonna do that. Previous direction. Sick. Okay. I believe everything is good now. I'm gonna run this just one more time just to make sure, right, that I'm not missing anything. I did like try my own little test case here. Everything worked perfectly. Yeah, there's no issues. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna take this code that I wrote in my idle, and I'm gonna use the online grader. So Junior J3. So I got 11 out of 15. So so if they're even not zero, it's even a not zero. Not a previous statement. So I mean, it did work. We got, but I want to get a 15 out of 15, right? This is not a 15 out of 15 response, which is kind of pissing me off a little bit. Cause what do you mean it's not a 15 out of 15 response, bro? Let me get the test cases for this. Test cases for. I want the test cases. So it's clipped. So wrong answer. So, but how would I know if it's right or wrong? Cause I'm not getting it. Damn. Run the module. Okay, so here I am just trying to figure out how I can get all 15 cases. Okay, hold on. The first two digits represent the action to turn. If the sun is odd, then turn is left. If the sun is even and not zero, we double check that here. what's happening. So I'm just gonna do not L if sum is not equal to. Just for readability. I don't know, maybe this might work. Let me resubmit this. Let's go! Okay, that was the issue. Okay, perfect. We got it. So basically the issue was that here it says is even and not 0, but over here we were just checking if it was even, but 0 is considered even. So over here what we did was we just changed that by adding an and s is not equal 0. So it will only add the direction of right if it's not 0. And you know what we can do? We don't even need this s equals to 0. We can just hit it with an else statement of direction equals previously, because 0 will never become an odd statement. So this way we save on lines of code. The else statement. Okay, let me try this out now again, just to make sure that there's no issues or anything of the sort. There you go. Perfect. So I can just take this and let's add this to my GitHub. So add a file, and this is a secret instructions. So secret instructions.py. Let's add in my content and save that. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, I was kind of stupid for not realizing that, but it's okay. We live and learn. But something that I can, looking back and reflecting on, when solving this problem, something that I really need to, and this is just a skill in general that I need to really work on, is read the statements properly. It says even and not 0. I did not properly implement the not 0 part. So reading it carefully and taking every little thing that this question says seriously is something that I will try and strive to work on getting better. All right, and that's gonna happen over time with more practice of these like competitive level questions. But yeah, that is it for this, and yeah, let's go.